a special little one. Local journalist, writer, and I tell you what, should be a marriage therapist in my eyes. 15 ways to stay married for 15 years. Lydia Netzer is with us. This article on her blog alone has gotten over 250,000 reads.
It went national. It hit up the HuffingtonPost.com, which is huge.
They picked it up. I can only bet that that's good for another, 300,000-400,000 reads right there. But why is it so brilliant? I think because it's basic knowledge here. I mean, these are the rules. And she's going to be with us next to talk about, I think this is great, why do marriages often seem like they're getting like claustrophobic? Like everything's closing in on you. That's coming up next. Lydia joins us. It's 7:11 right now with you two. A beautiful day. 94.9. The Point. Guten Morgen, 7:14. You're going to have some rain on and off today, about 77 for your high. Relationship 911 today, a little bit different. We have a guest with us.
I love this. It's so exciting when we have somebody join us live in our little nugget of a studio.
So you've written an article that has been viewed on your own blog 250,000 times.
Yes.
Who knows how many times nationally, and her name is Lydia Netzer, and she wrote this article, which I think Huffington changed the title a little bit.
Yes.
15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 Years. Welcome.
Thank you.
It's great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
I read this article, and let me sit down here. And I literally took a breath and went back, and I emailed the guy who sent it to me, and I said, can I get her on the show? This thing is brilliant. It isn't technique. These are almost like the ground rules for having a healthy marriage. And, you've been married 15 years, obviously, to Dan, your husband.
Yes.
And how many children?
Two children.
And when did you guys set these rules at the outset, or what the heck was it? Because we've got it up on our Facebook, facebook.com/pointradio, if you want to look at Lydia's article. It is absolutely brilliant. Was this set at the outset of your marriage?
No, absolutely not. We had some very interesting years at the beginning where we struggled with a lot of these concepts ourselves. And as we went along, we sort of came to an accord about different nevers and always situations. And so these rules were never actually really explicitly stated between us, but it was just something that I knew this was how our marriage was working.
Okay. And when you look at marriage, we see, Woo and I have talked about this, and Woo is in a very happy marriage, too.
Thank you.
Her husband has chosen, please don't ever talk about me on the air, and they've stayed happily married.
For almost 5 years.
I know. This is fantastic. But what do you think is the biggest problem that you see? Because in reading your article, you're obviously a student of marriage as well. What is the biggest problem you see in society with marriage on the whole?
Well, I think people start to feel like they're trapped in not just their marriage, but their lives. When you start out life with stars in your eyes and all your beautiful dreams of happiness in the future, everything is a generality. You are going to marry a great guy or a great girl and live in a nice house and have a cool job and have kids. And the spectrum is very wide. But as you grow up and become an adult, you start to make choices that limit your spectrum. So you major in this, and then you move here, and you marry this specific man or
close the
woman.
walls in on yourself.
And you start to unchoose all those other sparkling possibilities that you once imagined. And you can sit up at 35 and look around and say, my life is actually very well defined, and I'm never going to be that kid that at 16 could go anywhere and do anything. And you can really force all of those feelings onto your spouse. Like, it's your problem.
It's a disdain.
It's you. You're doing this to me.
And that brings up a great point. Coming up, Lydia offers not only some more of her 15 ways to stay married for 15 years, which, by the way, again, it's on our Facebook page.
It is, facebook.com/pointradio. You can read the entire article there. It's great.
But we talked about this briefly. How do you stop that wall closing in around the marriage to where you kind of develop that disdain? Because that's just a nasty thing. It is absolutely a nasty thing.
And there is such a thing as a happy marriage.
Yes.
Sure. I mean, I think you have to mix it up in other ways. And this is one of the rules I talked about, was not being afraid to change, move to a new town, grab a new career, launch into a brand new passion or hobby when you're 40 if you want to.
Kickball, if you're my husband who likes kickball.
Really accept the fact that this specific man is who you're going to be with for the rest of your life. And inhabit how good that is. And also realize that any other guy that's out there that you pick is also very specific.
Yeah.
There's no general great guy that you can marry and the world will be open.
So stick around. We're going to come on back in a couple of minutes. Lydia Netzer, author of the article 15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 Years, and author of a book, which, too, we'll put the link up on our Facebook page as well. It's 7:19 at your morning point. Probably some on and off rain. Highs about 77. How to save a marriage? Yes, it very well could happen here on the morning point. We're saving people.
94.9 The Point.
94.9 The Point, the sound of now. Jack Johnson, Bubba Toes at 7:33 with Chuck, Woo-Woo, and coming up, more with Lydia Netzer, who's in with us. 15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 years. Wrote that article. It has gone viral on the internet. And what is the secret to not closing the walls in on the marriage? I thought this was great stuff. You might think so, too. And Woo-Woo's Hollywood Report. What can we expect?
Yep, find out which party Kim Kardashian was banned from. A red carpet she was not allowed to walk.
And I say the world is getting right. You want proof that things are turning around? Kardashian was banned from a party. Thank you. I knew this day would come. Colby Calais. Monday night at Norva. That is Neon Trees. And if you want to get backstage, meet the band, of course, we're going to have your opportunity to do that from the point. We're going to have some rain on and off, about 77 on the high. And with us this morning, Lydia Netzer, author of the article that has gone viral on the internet, 15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 Years. You and your husband, Dan, 15 years, as we were saying. It's a great accomplishment. Congratulations. Now, what do you attribute to other than great sex in the article?
Well, Chuck, geez.
No, I love it. It's like, get very good at that.
Yeah.
I thought that was a neat little thing. But before we were talking about how, and I thought you made a great point, how the walls seem to close in. And it almost gets claustrophobic because you have all of these variables when you're going into a marriage of, I'm going to marry this person and have this cool job. And then the walls.
We're going to drive a red Volvo station wagon.
And then you start to hate the other person because all this stuff isn't happening.
Right.
Now, how do you stop that, in your opinion?
Well, I think one key that everything else ties into is that before you get married, to question it in every possible way you can, so that you really sure that you can't do anything else but marry this person. And then at that moment when you get married, really believe in the ritual and the way it transforms you, and then stop questioning. Don't question it anymore.
What about for all the people who say, oh, a wedding, marriage, that's just a dress and a piece of paper. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, I think it means what you believe it means. And as human beings, we are very connected historically to our rituals. And we have always believed in their transformative properties. And the fact that when you are married, the questions stop. You're not going to lie to him. You're not going to cheat on him or her. You're not going to fail them, and you're not going to leave them. That's it.
I like that the best. You know what? Leaving each other is not an option.
Right.
That is the best.
And it's something you don't test. You don't think when you put your foot out to walk, is gravity going to pull my foot to the ground, or might I walk into space? You just trust the gravity. Gravity's always going to be there. And the marriage is the same thing. It is a given. It's no longer a variable. It's not a question. You're going to be married to him. How do you live in that and make that work? Make all your decisions based on that.
That's fantastic right there. Now, you have a book coming out as well. By the way, if you want to check out her article that she wrote, it's on our Facebook, facebook.com/pointradio, 15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 Years. The book is called Shine, Shine, Shine.
Yes.
And when's it coming out? Let's talk.
It's coming out on July 17, and on the 18th, I'm having a launch event at the Barnes & Noble in Greenbrier.
Excellent.
Sweet.
And
so what's it about? I mean, is it about this?
Well,
or?
it's about true love and two people that are trying to work out how to fit together, even though they're very eccentric on their own, and how fitting in can be dangerous unless you're fitting in with the right person. And it's also about motherhood and sex and robots and death and secrets and murder.
It's the new 50 Shades of Grey.
I like the sex and robots. I like where this is heading. I got to be honest with you. Shine, Shine, Shine is the name of the book. It's going to be coming out. We'll link it up on our Facebook as well so people can get a pop at it. But fantastic. Lydia Netzer, author of the article 15 Ways to Stay Married for 15 Years. It is a pleasure to meet you. It was a pleasure to shake your hand. I love your article. Woo-Woo knows I was nuts about it.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome, especially for somebody who is married. And it's good advice. I mean, even though I've been married for almost 5 years, I'm like, oh, I probably should do number 8 more.
And I probably shouldn't annihilate rule number 2. Coming up on your Morning Point, we will have that link up on our Facebook, facebook.com/Point Radio. Thanks again for coming in.
Thank you for having me.